Middle seat, it was almost poetic. Really? Damien Cole leaned back in the passenger seat of his idling black SUV, watching the rain smear across the windshield like a slow-moving blur. Outside the window, the runway of Redmond International glowed under gray skies, scattered with the glint of private jets and idle engines. One of those grounded aircraft belonged to him, or rather, to the company he ran. Mechanical delay. Weather advisory. A tarmac standoff. Take your pick. The irony didn't miss him. He was the CEO of Horizon Air, a commercial airline that serviced millions across the country and prided itself on sleek design, punctuality, and modern luxury. Yet here he was, grounded, with nowhere to go and no executive power that could clear the clouds. His chartered flight wouldn't be taking off anytime soon, and he had a choice to make: wait 6 more hours for a maybe, or fly commercial. He pulled out his phone and scrolled. Flight 921, one of his own Horizon aircraft, was departing in 53 minutes. There were exactly 3 seats left. All middle. Economy. Damien rubbed his eyes and sighed. It had been more than a decade since he sat in economy. Not because he saw himself above it, at least that's what he told himself, but because the world he lived in moved quickly. First-class cabins were quiet, efficient, and, above all, private. Time was money. He lived by it, breathed it. But tonight, none of that mattered. He booked the seat. 40 minutes later, under the dull fluorescence of gate B17, he waited in line with everyone else. The scent of burnt espresso, antiseptic wipes, and humanity surrounded him. The boarding line inched forward. A gate agent nodded him through without a second glance. The boarding pass in his hand read plainly, 27B. Middle seat. No exceptions. Damien wore a baseball cap pulled low and kept his coat zipped high. He wasn't trying to hide, just to blend. No assistant, no entourage. No name tag announcing that he ran the company whose logo was printed across the tail fin of the plane waiting at the gate. He made his way down the narrow aisle, past row after row of travelers hunched over armrests, earbuds in, knees knocking tray tables. Row 27. There it was. The seat was wedged between a college-aged kid with a hoodie and earbuds, elbows already spread wide like territory claimed, and an older man who coughed softly into a tissue, a red scarf pulled loosely around his neck. Damien S.A.T.it was everything he remembered and more: narrow, unforgiving, loud. His knees hit the seat in front of him. The tray table stuck slightly. The armrest was already claimed. Somewhere behind him, a baby started crying. A flight attendant passed briskly, barely meeting his gaze. "Please store your bag properly, sir." Her tone was automatic, her eyes distant. He nodded silently and tucked his small carry-on under the seat. No space. No breath. Just containment. As the plane began to taxi, Damien closed his eyes for a moment. He wasn't the CEO now. Not here. Not in this seat. He was just a man with a boarding pass and a sore back. And for the first time in years, he realized that maybe that's exactly where he needed to be. The plane lifted into the sky, the cabin dimming slightly. His left shoulder pressed against the sleeping man beside him, and on the right, the college kid had started watching something on his phone without headphones. A soft beat leaked from the speakers. Damien didn't complain. He had approved this cabin design. He had signed off on the cost-saving adjustment that narrowed each seat by 3/4 of an inch to fit another row per aircraft. On paper, it saved the company millions. In practice, it meant that full-grown adults would spend 4 hours with their knees touching plastic. He shifted again. Nothing helped. Around him, the atmosphere felt dense, not just from altitude, but from a kind of collective exhale, people enduring rather than traveling. A woman across the aisle wrestled with a formula bottle as her toddler kicked the seat ahead of her. Another man leaned forward with his head in his hands. Someone behind coughed again. Damien reached for the in-flight magazine. Sticky. Something orange coated the edge. He let it fall back into its pocket. He scanned the cabin slowly. Crumpled napkins on the floor. Overhead bins crammed full. Crew members moving like machines. No eye contact. No warmth. Just function. A drink cart squeaked up beside him. Chicken or pasta? The attendant asked flatly. Just water, he replied. The plastic cup arrived with half a napkin stuck to its base. The attendant mumbled, "Sorry," and moved on before he could answer. Damien stared at the cup, then out the window. then down at his hands. Was this what Horizon had become? A transport service wrapped in polished branding, built on efficiency, but drained of empathy? He shifted in his seat again. Behind him, a voice spoke low and bitter. Used to care, you know? Back in the day. Another voice answered. Yeah, now it's like fees for everything and smiles that don't reach the eyes. They lost my bag last month, the first voice said. They sent me a QR code and called it customer service. I remember when you'd get a real apology. And a voucher, someone else chimed in. There was a laugh. Not a happy one. Just tired. Damien didn't turn around. He didn't need to. He heard them loud and clear. These were the voices boardrooms never caught. The ones that floated up here, 35,000 feet above glossy reports and filtered data. A few rows ahead, a mother rocked her crying baby with one hand while trying to reach into her diaper bag with the other. No one helped. Not until the woman beside her leaned over and silently handed her a small toy and a pack of wipes. The mother whispered, "Thank you." Damien swallowed. The kindness came not from Horizon Air, but from its passengers, filling in the cracks that profit models left behind. Behind him, the voices returned, and the CEO, someone asked, "What's his name? Damien Cole? Bet he hasn't sat back here in 15 years. You kidding?" The first man scoffed. He probably thinks middle seat is a metaphor. They laughed again, softer this time, sadder. Damien pressed his lips together and stared at the back of the seat ahead of him. He couldn't argue. They weren't wrong. He'd read the surveys. He'd skimmed the reports. But none of it felt like this. Not the smell. Not the weight. Not the fatigue in the eyes of the crew or the tension in the way people held themselves. He leaned his head back. The seat creaked. A flight attendant passed by, rubbing her wrist, whispering to another in the galley. Third leg today. Still gotta turn around after this. No backup crew again. The other nodded, eyes red-rimmed. It's my 9th day on. Straight. I can't even remember what sleep feels like. Damien closed his eyes. He wasn't supposed to hear this. But maybe he was. Later, as the plane descended into its final approach, a soft voice just behind the curtain near the galley floated through. I can't keep doing this, one of the off-duty crew whispered. Same, came the reply. 12-hour shifts, cut crews, no breaks. And then they email us a thank you like it fixes anything. There was a pause. Then a line that pierced right through him. I don't hate the job, the woman said. I just hate how small I feel doing it now. Damien sat still, staring out at the city lights flickering in the distance. That was it. That was the whole truth. She didn't want more money, or luxury, or praise. She just wanted to feel seen. He used to show up for crew calls. He used to remember names. He used to believe that culture mattered more than quarterly margins. But somewhere, in chasing growth, he had stopped listening. As the plane touched down and rolled to a stop, the captain thanked the passengers. Welcome to Boston. Thank you for flying with Horizon Air. Damien didn't stand when the seatbelt light clicked off. Around him, people gathered their bags, shuffled forward, and checked their phones. He sat in silence. At the front of the plane, the attendant with the limp offered her rehearsed farewell. When he reached her, he paused. Thank you, he said softly. She blinked, surprised. You're welcome, sir. He stepped into the jet bridge without fanfare. He didn't tell her who he was. He didn't need to. Outside in the terminal, he pulled out his phone. Get everyone on a call tomorrow morning, he told his assistant. Full executive team. No excuses. What's it about? He looked out the glass wall toward the plane he had just exited. Baggage carts moved in circles. A crew member wiped her brow under a headlamp. It's about everything we stopped seeing, he said. That meeting wasn't a formality. It was the beginning of a reckoning. Policy audits. Training revamps. Crew schedules rebuilt from the ground up. Human-centered operations, not just profit-driven ones. He launched a program, listening panels of flight attendants and gate agents who spoke directly to the leadership team, unfiltered. He showed up to them all. 3 months later. The difference was palpable. Passengers noticed. Employees felt it. Flight crews were no longer ghosts moving down aisles. They were professionals with energy, pride, and rest. Layovers were human again. Service was slower, but warmer. Real. Honest. And once a month, unannounced, A man with a baseball cap boarded a random Horizon flight and quietly took his middle seat. He didn't want applause. He wanted accountability, because the truth he'd learned that night was simple and enduring. You can't lead from the sky. You lead from seat 27B.